In the wake of the confirmation of coronavirus in the country on the 15th of March 2020, President Uhuru Kenyatta gave a directive to close down all educational institutions with immediate effect. This was to ensure that the safety of our students comes first and minimize the risk of the students contracting coronavirus. This, however, brought education to a sudden halt. On this episode of Metropole Special Report, we show you how different schools and individuals are working towards ensuring that the students remain on track with syllabus coverage. On the 15th of March 2020, following the confirmation of 2 more coronavirus cases in the country, among other directives, President Kenyatta ordered the immediate shutdown of all schools.
Primary and secondary day schools are to suspend operations from tomorrow. For those in boarding schools, the school administration is to ensure that students are home by Wednesday, the 18th March 2020.
At Brook House, the news was not news. The school was prepared for this eventuality. The management team held a virtual crisis meeting. At 9:30 p.m., the school sent out communication to all parents that learning will resume as normal on Monday, the 16th of March 2020.
The whole idea is we have timelines. Our students are approaching their final exams, that is May, June exams, and we didn't want to lose even a single hour of not preparing them. So that was one. We really wanted to make sure that everything runs as normal.
The journey to virtual learning began when Brook House became a Google school. Google Kenya enabled the school to acquire educational apps such as the Google Classroom. Together with an action plan put in place, proper infrastructure, the school gives students specifications for the devices to acquire to aid the learning. Finally, the school stepped up its network systems through Access Kenya and Jamii Telecom, and all systems were good to go.
The moment that we realized that COVID-19 was affecting schools and schools were closing in other parts of the world, we knew it was a question of time before it would come and affect us here in Kenya. So we did start preparing by getting refresher courses to all the teachers. We also made sure that we ran trial lessons with the students, and that really gave us the level of preparedness that you've been able to witness.
The virtual lessons mirror the normal class sessions, normal break sessions in between with all subject areas covered. In his role as the headmaster, he can equally pop in a virtual class and monitor the learner's progress.
You're putting your headphone like a DJ. You can also do some DJing here. but for me, I'm going to DJ geography, okay? Thank you.
And do enjoy the rest of your class, please. The school term will be ending on the 2nd of April, and by then we shall just go down the normal way where we come to the end of the school and start our Easter break. After the Easter break, if schools will still be closed, we shall then revert again to the virtual classroom mode. So as long as schools stay closed, we will operate on the virtual school platform.
Among the teachers aiding in the virtual learning process is Lindy Nyaseme, the head of arts department at Brook House. Instead of a commute, a whiteboard, and a classroom full of students, she gets to do her art class from the comfort of her home office. All she needs is her laptop, internet, and her students online. Virtual learning activated.
We're lucky at Brook House because we really were prepared very, very well. So we'd all had sessions on Zoom classes, we'd all had insets on the procedures and what platforms we need to use and are keeping our expectations high. So even though the first day everything is new, and when you're someone of my age, you know, sometimes technology can be a slight challenge. But that's okay.
What is not so familiar, though, is not being in the same classroom with her students.
You're invited into their home and the learning is still going on, you have an awful lot more respect for the independent learner because you're relying on that. You're relying on them to log in on time and all the rest of it. And I've just been so impressed with their motivation and the passion that is running through the work that I have received this week. See you next week. You take care of yourselves.
As Nyaseme wraps up her class, we make our way to Langata to meet Susan Bantu, a parent of 2 students at Brookhouse. Virtual classes are on in her home. Her 2 daughters, Mekatilili and Makeba Bantu, are following the lessons keenly.
Malaria. A pathogen that transmits malaria is Plasmodium.
Susan says virtual learning should be the benchmark for all schools in the country.
I feel that that's what needs to happen for everybody, because my child, just because they're going to a school like Brookhouse, they've got their classes going. I know there's so many kids out there who are just seated trying to do piles and piles of work, no teacher feedback. But the fact that they meet with their teacher every morning starting at 8 a.m. all the way to the end of the day at 3:30, they're with the teacher. So I feel that they are much more privileged in terms of having that system going.
Susan further adds, this is what the government's laptop project should have helped actualize.
Having laptops was a government project, remember the laptop project. So I felt that if it was implemented much better, all kids, whether you're in a public school, a private school, an international school, you should be able to access learning. It doesn't need to stop because of election violence, it doesn't need to stop because of school closures, and we don't know how long we're going to be at home. So I think the education system really needs to take this seriously, and it shouldn't be just for a few kids, but for the whole country, really.
While Susan makes an omelette for Makiba, who is in her biology class, we catch up with Mekatilili, who is on break, to find out what her experience with virtual learning has been.
It was very sudden. You know, we were all kind of like joking about it and thinking that we weren't really going to go into this virtual learning, yeah. We're all kind of like, no, it's not going to happen. But then, you know, one weekend we're hearing that we're not going to school anymore, so we had to switch over really fast. And I think it was a very successful thing, because on the first day everyone was already there in class ready to do what they had to do, so I think it was very successful, yeah.
We leave Mekatilili to focus on her art assignment. As Makeba enjoys her omelette, Susan says virtual learning should be rolled out across the country.
I would say, please, we need this more. It needs to be a country-wide thing. I don't feel good that my kids are doing virtual learning only. I would want this, every child in every home in this country, whether you're in Shags or you're in the city or wherever you are, you have access to these things. I think Wi-Fi, internet is not something that we should be behind on right now. It needs to be accessible to everybody so that we access learning. It's a priority. It is.
However, until the laptop project comes to life, Susan Daria, an educationist and career coach, cannot afford to wait. Even though she wants her children to have a proper education, safety comes first.
What went through my head was that I actually wanted my children home. I wanted my children home at that particular time because of the scare and the danger that it poses to have them out there. You're better off taking care of your children in the house than having them out there hoping that the schools will take care of them. 2 of my children are in boarding school, so I prefer to have them back at home.
Amanda, one of her daughters, is a KCPE candidate this year. Her second daughter, Imani, will be a candidate next year, and her son, Jabali, is a CBC pioneer. Armed with a whiteboard, marker pens, textbooks, and printed assignments, Susan, together with her husband, Pascal, have turned their dining area into a makeshift classroom.
So I wake up my candidates early. I wake her up at 5, tell her to start her homework. So at around 8 or 9, we start off with the housework. And we go through the topics slowly, topic by topic, teaching just like it's taught in class. What they've already been taught, I ask them to do a recap. Then I fill in what they don't understand. I think for me, I would be lucky that I have a background in education. Yeah, but I also think today's parents, most of the parents today are people who went through 844. So I think every single parent would be able to understand the primary school curriculum. You know, a tooth is a tooth. You would be able to teach your child about a tooth because you did it.
We can assume that premolars and molars are now So if you give us less or more, you're lying to us.
So we start adding. 8 plus 4, 12. 12 plus 8, 20. 20 plus 12, 32. Yeah, 32. Good job. That is proof that there are 32 things in an adult. Have we understood? Yes. Have we understood? Yes. Wonderful.
Also, the syllabus coverage is important because when they go back to school, whatever time, it might be June, it might be May, June, that what was meant to be taught must be taught because the exam has already been set. You see, we're not going to go back and reset an exam. It has already been set. So to help my own children cover the syllabus with or without the teacher, I think it was important for me, and I think I would also advise other parents to just take their time and help their students cover the syllabus.
In a bid to ensure all children access learning during this time, the Ministry of Education released a circular saying classes will be on radio, TV, and YouTube. President Kenyatta further gave online learning a boost after Kenya Civil Aviation Authority signed an agreement with Google Loon. The balloons carry 4G stations that allow internet access across the whole country.
This service will also enable teachers and students to access education materials remotely, especially in this challenging time, thus enabling our students to continue learning from home.
However, Peter Amunga, an education consultant, says online learning for all students is a far-fetched dream.
Our infrastructure to roll out proper e-learning or online learning is not there. It's actually not non-existent. Because we are talking about issues like even the frequencies of, for example, radio stations. They are not there, they are not available. Talking about even the internet bandwidth, and even talking about availability of internet in this country is not in all areas. You may discover that 3G or 4G, which is a good kind of bandwidth that can be used, is only available in urban centers, and in fact in top urban centers. Most places in this country do not enjoy 4G or 3G kind of internet. So we are just simply saying that e-learning can only favor the children in urban centers or children who belong to families that are able financially.
With the school calendar still running and uncertainty around COVID-19 increasing by the day, Amunga says the Ministry of Education must rethink its national examination timelines.
If this crisis persists for the next 2-3 months, then we'll have no choice but to postpone exams and to push them forward, because we will not be able as teachers to cover the syllabus on time. This virus has taught us that we need to be thinking out of the box. We need to plan in future that in case there is such an issue, how are our structures for e-learning in place? Are our parents in-serviced to be able to teach their children at home?
So as a country, we really need to be prepared for tackling anything that might disrupt learning, because as we know, the school has a calendar, there's a curriculum to be covered, and we want to really minimize any form of disruption to the school system.
Those schools that had that kind of infrastructure are still in school. Yeah, they're at home learning, but they're still in school. Their curriculum is ongoing. It's not interrupted. So for the academic institutions, it's going to be a to-do, must-do. The ICT infrastructure has to be put in place. It has to be functional. It just has to be.
Thank you for cooperating in my class. We shall meet in another class. Okay, time to pack. Hurry up.
Okay. Okay. Give me the easy one.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So class time is over. It's lunch break in this household, and the kids are having fun and games as they wait to have their lunch and go back to school. And for as long as the suspension on education stands, as COVID-19 cases continue to rise in the country, these children will stay at home, but classes will continue as normal in preparation for their national exams. For Metropole Special Report, my name is Ndero Oganga.